All right, good morning, geometry guys. It's Mr. Jeffries coming at you. We're in my third period regular geometry class. Don't forget, hit like or subscribe with the bell. So, it is hat day. See, I got a sticker. All right, now, the direction says name 3 points in the diagram that are not collinear. Okay? So, that means they are not on the same line. All right. If you use, which some of y'all don't know how to use this power yet, if you use your powers of teenagerism, which is stating the obvious, like it's going to happen, somebody will check in one day, you're late. Wow, you should be a reporter. Okay, so these 3 are on the line. So that's stating the obvious. So possibly the one off the line would be, context clues. So you could do this. You could say N, P, R. You could say N, R, Q. You could say, nope, that's it. That's not it. Yep. All right. So there's 2 different answers for that one. So that's it. Now it's it again should be kind of straightforward. If you look, you kind of have to. So many people, you'll read this, you'll look at the thing, you're like, I'm confused. You didn't actually allow it to process yet. Okay. If your brains could work as fast as photo math and stuff like that, you would probably be somewhere else instead of high school right now, because that's how fast. You have to let it, sit. Y'all, if you also use the same powers, like, oh, I need a charger. Okay, especially, if you're outside of high school or outside of school, your phone's on 15%. You need a charger, you will problem solve that awesomely. But we won't, use the same powers. I don't understand. All right, so number 2. So there's lots of different options for number 2. There's R, S, T. There's R, T, U. There's R, T, V. There's S, T, U. Stu. And S, T, V. All right. So at least those 5 options. All you had to do was just name one of those 3. Okay? One of those 3. So that's kind of it. All right, I would go with number 1 and number 2. Anybody need more time? I know some people might be just really busy, using Sharpie on somebody else's body for some reason. And then when we have our test, we're like, I don't know what's going on. All right, so, okay, also, later today, I'm probably going to use contacts that I have in Power School to send out an email to whoever your contact is. There'll probably be like a video kind of like this. Hey, this is what we're doing, blah, blah, blah. Show them everything, even the handouts, like where to grab them, all this kind of stuff. Probably pictures of other things, like I did y'all. And sometimes I send out a email about once a week. I had to wait till today for hopefully everybody's schedules are fixed. Okay? I do email often. That's some people are not used to that. Okay? All right. Number 3, it says use the diagram below to answer the following. All right. Which point is not coplanar to these 2? All right. When we talked about this yesterday, we talked when something wasn't coplanar, it was like what? Yeah, cow's in the fence. And if it was not coplanar, the cow was out of the fence. Okay? So the only cow that's out of the fence is Y. All right, everything else is right there. Now, I did have a question, and it was only one group that actually asked this question. They were asking about this script A right here, okay, which is very good. I hadn't covered that. That's why there's actually a lot less questions than what there could be. That's actually how you name this. This would be plane A, okay? That's actually how you name that whole plane. There, you could name it like that or with 3 non-collinear points. All right, so B, 2 line segments. UV, VW, Volkswagen, okay, XV, VY. Oh, that's a weird looking Y. Something's up with my Y's today. All right. UW, XY. All right. It said list 2 of them. I listed 6 because there's at least 6 possibilities right there. That way you know. Now, do you have to list all of them? Now, some of y'all will. You'll write it down so you know what a line segment is. You know, really drive home that point. But, you know, you don't have to. The way I answer things is covering everybody. All right, number C, write a set of points that are collinear. Okay, that means 3 of them on the same thing. So U, V, W, and then X, V, Y. All right, those are, it only asks for 1 set. I gave you 2. That way it cover both of them. All right. Was anybody super duper lost when you got here? Now, it's okay to have discussions about it. But like if you, at your grouping, you looked through your notes, you discussed it with your, people around you, and you still had no clue, that's one thing. Okay? But you could still discuss and maybe only get part of it. That's, you actually know what's going on. But if you're like a blind man in a dark room looking for a black cat that's not there, we have issues. Okay? All right, a pair of opposite rays. Okay, to me this is like on the Bugs Bunny cartoons. It's like he went that way. You ever seen it? Where they cross their arms like that? Okay, so VU, VW. All right, and then the other ones are VX and VY. All right, and as we learned on our check on learning the other day, yes, it does matter if you label it or not. Now, below number 4, not all the directions were, some of the directions were hidden by one of the figures, and nobody must have read the directions because nobody asked a question. You just, it says, we have not covered this info yet, it should be, and then it kind of disappears. It should be pretty easy. I think that's what I typed out, and it's covered up by this graphic right here. All right. So I don't think anybody read those, or you would have had a question because it's not, All right. So you asked somebody. Oh, okay. So if this is 7, this is 10. What's the whole thing? 17. It's crazy. All right, so let's look at this one. All right, if PQ is 20 and QR is 22, how far is it from P to R? 42. All right. Bloop, 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 bloop. All right. PR. Ooh, this one's a little bit different. This is the whole thing. If the whole thing is 25, which is funnier than 24, but this is 12, what is this little section right here? 13. He added 12 and 25. That's how he got 37. All right. So this one says if this whole thing is 19, this is 12, what does this have to be? 7. Look, if 19 of you go with me and on a field trip, and all of a sudden 12 of you go missing, or 7 go missing, I'm left with 12 students, okay? Now last year the big threat was I'm going to find a place that has a highly electrified fence where it says do not touch the fence, just so I could take some students there because they never like to listen or follow directions, and then that was, some problems were going to take care of themselves. All right. PR is 10. This whole thing is 10. This right here is 4. What's this other part? 6. If the whole thing is 10 and one section is 4, okay, you have to read the problem. If you didn't read the problem, you probably got it wrong. Okay? How many of y'all thought that after the first 2 they were all just adding? Okay, thank you. That's at least being honest. Okay? Didn't say that remember I told you to be honest. Didn't say I always like it, but at least be honest. Okay? So maybe we will, slow down and, read the directions. All right? So that's it for today. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe to the bell. Good stuff, good things. Oh, roll time.